Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inu wa nastaghfiru wa nu'minu wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina wa man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Amma ba'd. Today's topic is the destructive effects of social media. But when it becomes destructive or bad effects, then the social media probably should be called as anti-social media. And the gaming addiction, that video games online, they are ever increasing. So the purpose of today is to know something about the bad effects of social media and how it is impacting our children worldwide, not just the Muslims and non-Muslims, everybody else. The online, and what is to sacrifice. So it is consuming our time. The greatest gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the time, so it is consuming our time. So while we discuss all this, we will also look at what we can do, what sort of steps we can take to cut down on these anti-social media, and how we can protect our children from becoming addicts to the games. And then we will also discuss a bit about the darknet, the underworld of the internet, the cybercrime, and for that we will plan together something. I'll let you know in a minute. So worldwide internet, there are billions of megabytes, billions are being downloaded and exchanged and uploaded every day. If you convert that into text or writing, it will be probably 4 to 5 million books every day, all over the world. That is the nature of internet. Internet is a new world. It is like a parallel universe. It is not just something which is ordinary and like started in 1994 and you just sort of buying few things here and no. It is a new world. It has so many aspects and dimensions that it is unbelievable that what is happening with our lives, the way we interact with each other, act and react, and the way we behave, sometimes the way we speak, the way we dress, the way we work, internet and this cyber world has all impact on us. Because without it, we are not able to do much these days, unless and until we are living in a village. So if it is 7 billion population of the world, and we presume that minimum 60%, that is 4 billion people roughly, are using internet on daily basis. So it has to be huge. It is absolutely massive. So cyber world, roughly speaking, there's no definition for that. It is, somebody call it a romantic thing. It's attractive, it's addictive, it's hateful, ugly, unforgiving, and dangerous at the same time. Why unforgiving? Because once you write something, SMS or WhatsApp or Twitter or email, whatever it is, it will stay there. It will stay there as long as those servers stay there. So roughly, we have weapons of mass destruction, a very popular word. So sometimes we use that terminology to understand other things also. If we have weapons of mass destruction, we call them WMDs. So sometimes, some aspects of the internet and the cyber world are so harmful, actually we can call it a WID. It's a weapon of individual destruction. How? I will explain that. We have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us look at our heads. There are ears, there is speech, there is eyes. We call this a cognitive space. That means you can hear, you can see, you can understand, you can analyze, What is it? If there is an aeroplane landing here, with the same ears and eyes, you know something is happening. There's a machine, there's a powerful, you don't come in front of it, it will harm you. It is carrying people. So that is a cognitive space. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this cognitive space visible and approachable for everybody. If you are hearing and listening, you cannot shut out. Unless somebody becomes deaf and blind. So this cognitive space, this is the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it remains open until the day we die. So whatever we listen, it impacts us. Whatever we see, it impacts us. If we listen and see something with more passion, then it impacts our heart at the same time, and that is the nature of internet. So anybody who says it's not impacting me, I will sort of mention to you how badly it can impact us. Very briefly, the cyberspace of the internet, commonly speaking, how many domains do we use? There are many domains. There are IT people sitting here. They would know a lot more than me. But generally speaking, the first one is business. Well, buying and selling, marketing, your communication, your normal sort of, WhatsApp, normal, everything, it comes under business. The second thing is knowledge resource. So this is one of the biggest knowledge resource which people could never imagine 100 years ago, and the people can do their masters, their graduations, their A levels, their PhDs, and they can, through Google, they can have so many things and learn things. So it is the greatest knowledge resource and the biggest library ever imagined in the history of the mankind. The third dimension is social media, like WhatsApp, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and Snapchats, and so on and so forth. You know more than me. And the fourth dimension which is ever increasing, is a gaming platform for young people, teenagers. And the fifth one is the dark cyber criminal underworld, which is not accessible to everybody, but it is there and it is increasing. For example, you take example of pornography. In last 18 months, the statistics show it has increased more than 400% in upload and download. And the sixth dimension of internet, which we commonly use, is the government websites or institutes, and these are the six main dimensions. Now what I want to do is, I want you to imagine, all of you, to travel with me. We all travel together. I've got some handouts, 2-3 people can share. There will not be enough for people. Now we will travel through the cyber world. How we will travel that? We will use our God-given Quwwatul Khayal, the power of imagination faculty. We're all boarding a ship now. It's a virtual ship. So we're all going in the ship, and we will look at the different dimensions of the web, the beautiful part and the ugly part, and see how you feel. When we come back, then we will review what is the Islamic perspective and what can we do. So now imagine all of you are in that ship, and Shahid is sitting behind me. Nasir Sahib is on the left side. And all IT people are also sort of, moving. And the ship is a beautiful ship, and we're all going in the cyberspace. The first thing we find, it is a beautiful, very bright, sort of colorful, attractive, gobsmacking. We are attracted toward it, fall in love with it, because Amazon is there, eBay is there, Marks and Spencer is there, our shops are there, food shops are there, Tesco's are there, and we also have other good things. Our scholars are there. We see Ahmad Didat is there, Zakir Naik is there, Hamza Yusuf is there, and all the good scholars. Everything good is happening, and people are seeking knowledge and getting degrees. People are doing their homework, and they're using internet for a wonderful purpose, for a beneficial purpose, and we can't deny that, and we are so happy. And we are also communicating with each other with SMS and all that. Then our ship actually moves to some other place, and you're finding it is a little bit less dark now. What has happened? We're all in that ship, and we're finding the problems of the social media. There are a lot of people standing there, millions of them. And we go in the ship and see, we wave to some people and they wave back to us and say, what's happening to you? And some of them say, look, we become addicted to social media. We are gossiping all the time. We are proud that we are global citizen because this is a new thing in internet. You got a citizenship now. And they're saying we are global, we are internet friends. And some people we see, they're eating the meat of very foul looking meat. And we stop by and sort of ask, what is that? And they're saying, we do malicious backbiting. We are the backbiters on social media. And when all this is happening, so we also feel very nauseous and feel like vomiting. And people say, come on, move on, move on. I said, no, let's sort of find out what are these people. They are our brothers and sisters, sons and daughters. What's happening to them? So there are people who say we slander on social media. Other people are saying we are frightened. Why are you frightened? They said we have disclosed our personal information up to 80% of our personal lives. Other people are saying, I said, young girls, what is wrong with you? They said, we were suffering from selfie mania. We just posted there, and now we are being blackmailed. And we sort of stopped there, and we said, wow, what all this happening? And then some people are in a dream-like state on social media. They're saying we got a cyber friend, we got a cyber pets, we got a cyber mom, cyber dad, and some are children, 2, 3 years old, holding iPads. We said, what is that? And their mums are proudly saying, we are cyber mums, and these are cyber babies. Because they can operate internet at the age of 2 and download their own games. So that is the state of the human beings. And we see some people young again, because there are hundreds and thousands. So just singing and dancing and moving left and right. What's happening? They said this is cyber romance. We found romance on the social media. And some people say we got married. Other people got divorced. And there are people sort of inviting even us. I said, what is it for? This is cyber dating. And some people are dressed very nicely. Say, who are you? They said, we are celebrities on the social media. And I asked them, what do you achieve? What is the benefit of all that? And they looked at me and they abused us. They said, you move your ship, and all those people, we can look into that, all the people with the beard and young people, why are you spying on us? Just move on. We're not interested in you. They said, we have a belonging here. We feel happy. I said, this is squandering of time. You're misusing your time. And they did not agree with me. So they picked up the stones, they started to throw the stones at our ship. We were all sitting there, and then Nasir Sahib said, come on, move quickly. So Nasir Sahib was sitting on the left side. He just asked me, just Dr. move. So we moved to the next, and we moved to the next platform. Imagine you're in a ship in a cyberspace, and now what do we find? The teenagers. We went there, and we saw a lot of teenagers wear these tight clothes, some with the tattoos, some with the punk style hair, and some sort of, wearing strange sort of shoes and shirts. And I said, what is happening? They said, this is a gaming platform. I said, what sort of games you are playing? They said, not much. All destructive. Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Auto, all aggression and violence and the war of the Warcraft, World of the Warcraft, Frontline, Minecraft, Battlefield, Doom, War of God, Mortal Kombat, Destiny, League of Legends, all these games, when you look at that, they contain nothing but violence and aggression and bloodshed. Killing each other. And people boasting there, I am the killer number 1 on internet. And then I said, do you know that you have there's something called induced addiction, that people who are making the casino games, they are the same people using the same algorithms and making you addicted to the games. They're using their time frames, algorithms, so that you become addicted to the games and you can't take your eyes off. And those young people, thousands and millions, they frowned at me. And some are in a disorganized state, some are behaving badly, some sort of abusing each other, some, in disarray and looking at us with a hateful thing because we are inquiring from them. I said, you suffer from a disease called the time distortion effect. They said, what is this nonsense you see? I said, the time distortion effect is that you lost the sense of perception of time. This is a scientific research done on the time perception. So you have lost you are suffering from time distortion effect. You can be there for 2 hours and somebody remind you and you say, no, I've been here for 5 minutes. And literally, that is the reality. And I said, what do you get out of it? And somebody said, well, I feel happy. I said, do you know this is a biological thing and your dopamine is released when you're playing and killing somebody? You have adrenaline rush, and as soon as you finish, you will crash, you will feel depressed. He said, I don't care. Right now, I am enjoying it. And I said, look, addiction of gambling is exactly the same, the casino addiction. When you match the two pictures, and by the time you feel you are winning, the dopamine in the brain, which is the chemical for happiness, is already released. Even if you lose it, you're saying it's not bad, I've lost it, because you already have the dose of your dopamine. This is the basis of addiction. I said, do you know the devastating effects of the gaming addiction? And some of them, they jumped at our ship and tried to hit it with a rod, and we just escaped. Shahid was sitting with me, he just turned around, and we said, no, we want to see what's happening, because there are a lot of young people, maybe my children might be there. And I said, look, there is a social, moral, academic failures with the gaming addiction. You have a withdrawal symptoms if you don't play. You have got a poor insight. You suffer from anger and aggression. Do you know you were the beautiful baby 3 years ago? Since you started to play games, you are now angry. You're more abusive. And you're abusive on the daily basis. You're becoming, some people were very obese. I said, what happened to you? They say, we love the games and we order the pizza every day, and that's why we are obese. And I asked other people why you are putting things in the shelves in the Tesco. They said we could not complete our study. We had poor grades because we were gaming addicts. And they had a mood fluctuation. They have anxiety. They have reversal of the sleep cycle. And they have risk of entering into the cyber net. So gaming addiction, children suffer so much. And they said, if you don't have anything else to say, just move on. So they became angry, started to abuse us. I said, hold on a second, just want to tell you one more thing about the gaming addiction. I said, the research has been done all over the world now, including Western worlds, and also many parts of the Middle East and the Southeast Asian, the minimum addiction rate is 12.6% average, teenagers and young adults. In China, in the last 18 months, there are certain pockets of people, there are 36.8% people who are addicted. In Italy, young people are addicted up to 18 to 20%, young teenagers. But if you ignore everything else, in this country, Britain, the minimum addiction rate is around 12%. And if you ask them, how many hours do you play? And he said, okay, this is the last question, you move on. I said, okay, I'll move on, you see. And they said, we play about 20 hours a week minimum. I calculated 20 hours a week minimum over a period of 1 year, then a period of 5 years. I said I took half the time of study to become a doctor. I took half the time what you have been playing on internet 20 hours a week. Had you only studied 10 hours, you could easily qualify for any degree and diploma, not just medicine, for 5 consecutive years. And then we were forced to leave. While we were leaving, So, because we were abused, and some people were saying, we should, there were young people sitting in the ship, and they said, no, we should sort of, do something to them. We should crash ship into them. I said, no, we just go now. And while we are going in that ship again in the cyberspace, and now we are entering into the dark cyberspace. We are entering into, and this is a reality. And first of all, we see that it is a dark and the ship is going down, but we see the light a little bit, but not as bright as before. And we go there and we see the groups of people smoking and drinking. And I said, who are you? And they said, we are the cyber drug criminals. What are you doing? They said, we do the drug trade for illicit, illegal drugs worth hundreds of millions. And I said, look, this is a crime. You're destroying the lives of the people. They said, we don't care. You are foolish people because you buy drugs. You go on our websites. You are the masses. You are the public. You got the money. We only give you temptation. I said, what do you sell? They said, everything. Novel psychoactive substances, NPS, spice. We are selling heroin, amphetamines, crack, cocaine, cannabis. Whatever you need. Do you need anything? I said, no, we don't need. We don't even smoke, you see. And they said, we are the criminal drug dealers and we enjoy the lawlessness. There is no law to stop us. And we are confident even if we are caught, we will not be prosecuted. For every one person who is prosecuted on a cyber crime, there are 99 who are never caught. They're scot-free. Now the next question coming in your mind is, what is the government doing? Wallahu alam, I do not know. They said we cause death through our drugs. But we don't care. We cause convictions to you people because you use and possess and you deal for us. And you got imprisonment. And they said, somebody said, Dr. Saab, ask them a question. How do they do that? What does the drugs do to you? And this was a good question, you see, asked by Khalid. And I said, let me sort of ask them a question. And they said, when we know something, because they got a satanic knowledge. They said, we know if we give these sort of things to people, we will strip them off their shame. We will strip them off their gratitude. We will strip them off eventually of their faith, and their spirituality will be destroyed, and we know this is their weakness, and that's why we are so successful. And they boasted about it. And we said, Astaghfirullah, we moved on, and then we moved on to the most horrible part of the cyber world. Even we went further deep, it becomes more dark. We couldn't see anybody. People were frightened in the ship. I could hear somebody sort of breathing a little bit, heavy. And I could even hear somebody's palpitations. So now you are in that ship and you're going into the most ugliest part of the cybernet. And we saw there people, young children, girls, boys, all young, most of them naked. And I said, what is happening? And sadly, they said, we are the hypersexual deviant part of the cyber crime world. We make pornography movies which are mushrooming, and do you know there are more than 5,000 websites in the last 1 year only all over the world? Only in 1 year, 5,000, more than 5,000. And I said, oh, who are these people who are peeping through the holes? They said they suffer from a disease called voyeurism. I said, who are those girls there? They are the prostitutes. We do prostitution through the internet. And who are the young children? We are grooming them to be criminals and the sort of sex slaves. I said, all the people chained there, young and old. They said they are sex slaves. We will sell them on internet. They are children and adults at the same time. And they said we also, there's some people sort of, smashing each other's brains. I said, what are these people? They said they are sex maniacs, they're sex addicts. And there were some people with the women, and I said, who are these? They said they suffer from cyber infidelity. There are people who have wives at home, And the wives who have the husbands at home, and through cyber they found some dating partners and they're with them now. There's a separate section there. We call them cyber infidelity. They said, we have all kind of syndicates of sex, and they invited us. Would you like to join us? We said, no, thank you very much. And I said, what are your aims? They said, global moral corruption. And we moved on. I could hear somebody sort of kick me on my shin. They said, move on. So I moved the ship and we moved on because it's too painful to watch that. And now we moved on to another platform. We went further deep. It was very dark and there we could see some light. And when we went there, our ship sort of went around it. And I asked, who are these people? Now this is very important for young people. At this time, who are gaming addicts, they might be okay. This is what will happen in the future. I said, what are these people, young people? What are you doing here? And they said, this group, there was a man, he showed me, he said, this is a group who suffer from an actual proper disease called internet gaming addiction. I said, who are those people? They said they got an internet disinhibition disorder. When they go on internet, they go out of control. And who are those people? They are internet gambling people. They got a lot of debts and they've lost all their credit cards and people have been kicked out of homes. But they cannot stop gambling. They are gambling addicts on internet. And we saw some girls and women with full of bags. And what are these? They are internet shopping addicts are there. And then I saw children, young people in their 20s and 30s. And I said, they don't look right to me. What's wrong with them? What's happening? They said, Dr. Saab, you know they're suffering from developmental disorders because they have played so much on the computer. I said, what are the defects? They don't look normal to me. They said they have lost their defect in their social skills, in their language skills. They can't cope at home. They're even in their 20s and 30s because they used to play so much, 20 to 40 hours a week. And one mother was screaming and shouting. He said, listen to me, I come to pick him up. He's also become very cold and callous. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, since he started to play, he's unhelpful, he's lazy, he's abusive, he's careless, he's isolated, he's avoidant, he's dependent, he's irritable, he's abusing me, I'm his mother. He loves his game. This is the ugliness of the gaming addiction. We call other people flexing their muscles. I said, who are these? They said they are cyber narcissists. These are the real terminologies, that there's a new world out there. And some people were screaming and shouting and trying to abuse and kick, and other people, they tried to jump over a ship and also destroy it. And we found these are cyber maniacs. They're suffering from a disease called cybermania and cyber rage. And they got a cyber personality disorders, other group of people. There were some of them who were in pain. They got a headache. They got a leg ache. There's something. I said, what's wrong with these people? I was the doctor. I said, what is wrong with you? They're suffering from hypochondria. What is hypochondria? It means you have read so much information over the internet about your innocent, benign symptoms, you genuinely believe that you are actually suffering from illness. In America and all over the world, many people actually end up having surgeries and operations because of those fake symptoms which they have actually, they're not there. They're fake symptoms, imaginary symptoms. Reading from Sheikh Google and Dr. Google, and they think they got a disease and illness. And some people have even died in America and other countries because they ended up having a surgery, open the stomach, we can't find anything. So this is known as hypochondria. Some people were panicking there. And then other people invited us. They said, I said, who are you? They were very secret. Do you want some help? I said, what are you doing? They said, we are doing a webcam sex tourism. I said, astaghfirullah, we don't need that. This is the state of this cyber world. And children who play games, the pop-ups, and they can easily go there. Easily go there. Mary Aiken wrote an absolutely fantastic book, Cyber Effect. People who are interested in IT, they should read that book, Cyber Effect, not very expensive, by Mary Aiken. He said she interviewed so much, she's a cyber psychologist, cyber forensic psychologist. And she said she interviewed so many people. How did you end up in the deep cyber world of criminality and all those sort of horrible things? They said we just it's like dipping a little your big toe in the water. We liked it, we came back, and then we dip up to our ankle. Then we liked it, we dip onto our knee, then hip, and their body and the neck. Now we're deep into that, and they will end up in prison or losing their career or the family or be kicked out. And there are other people who were lying on the floor. I said, what happened to them? They said, this is cyber suicide. People are doing a suicidal pact now. They're meeting and hold. There's so many depressed people. So they study and link with each other and discussion of their depression. Because when you meet on social media and any other forum, the most commonest thing is you tell about yourself. And you want to know about other people. It is a self-disclosure. And they said they have committed suicide. We move on from there with the very sadness. And there were some people, Irshad Sahib said, come on, Dr. Sahib, move, I'm sleepy, I need to go home. And we need to sort of go back to the masjid. We're still in a cyberspace. From there, we went on to another deep cyberspace. And this time it was another kind of cyber crimes, different kind of crimes. I said, who are you people? And they were frightening. They looked at us and they made us feel uncomfortable. We didn't even interact with them, and everybody was sort of under the state of tension. And they were the people who were committing a crime of a colossal level, and they were hackers. They were doing cyber bullying, cyber blackmail. They were identity deceivers and thieves. They were, as I mentioned before, grooming children for pornography and for crime. And they were boasting about billions and trillions of nude photos being uploaded and downloaded all over the world. And they said, we are the one who arrange the dates in the cyber, and then we rape those cyber date rapes. We are the one who doing piracy, malware, and attacks on your personal computers, and we benefit from all this lawlessness and corruption. Do you want to know anything? I said, who are the hackers? They said, we are the hackers. I said, what do you mean by hackers? They said, we, and another young man came. He said, I'm a PhD doctor. He said, do you know, if you want to ask, but after that just move from here. We will destroy your ship. We'll tell you who the hackers are. I said, what is your personality? Tell me about that. And he said, hackers? We are smart. We are knowledgeable. We're educated people. We know what the IT is. We can do it. And I said, why do you do it? They said, because we are narcissists. We are sadists. We want to harm other people. We want to hurt other people. We don't care. We want to blackmail other people. That's within our nature, and that's our criminal nature. We're not going out and killing people there. So we're only hacking. We're hacking their webcams. So at home, your personal webcams, there are settings which should not be open to the public, otherwise they can hack your cameras at home. There's so many cases there. And finally, we found we're coming out now, coming back to 83 Stoke Portage Lane, Slough, and then we will take a deep breath and see where do we go from here, how horrible this internet, some part of cyber world is. And we come to another, we don't, it's neither dark nor light. I said, who are you people? They're saying we are spies. We can't tell you who we are. We could be from government, we could be from intelligence services, we're not going to tell you, but we are another set of hackers, and we break into computers, we break into people's homes, and we collect all the data. We just want to do a different kind of hacking and collect the information, and we use it whenever it is, and they never told us who they are. And finally, when we're coming out, we saw, and now we're out of the dark space now. We come back into the light, and we find this final platform. I said, what are these? There are people sitting there with three-piece suits, nice looking, absolutely crisp sort of shoes and polished shoes and clothes. And I said, who are you? They said, we have 3 main jobs via the cyber and internet. They said, we are means of propaganda, we are institute of propaganda, we demonize people and groups, we dehumanize them, we desensitize them, we collect data. We have got an extreme obsession to collect data, and it empowers the institutes and the governments, and we can use it or misuse it, is none of your business. I said, what else do you do? They said, we do indoctrination. We are the government, and we, in our own times, we brainwash people, we indoctrinate the masses, so we can control them and benefit from them. And I said, it seems like then your desk is like a weapon of mind colonization. And they told us off. I said, why you not in a dark web? What you're doing, you should be in a dark web. And he proudly said, move on, we can blow your ship away because we are the government. We are addicted to the power and we can do whatever we want. That's why they were in the light. Anyway, we moved the ship and everybody said, we are tired and we are coming back now. So this is a little sort of trip to the cyber world and the ugliness and the darkness of the cyber world and addictions and how does it impact now. So thank you for staying with me for that journey. And now what shall we do now? How do we deal with that? So children who are here, it adds up. I would say if you make a timetable of your computer usage on daily basis and just calculate at the end of the month and see how many pages of books or how many pages of Quran, how many pages of hadith or good knowledge you could seek, and you have to decide what do you want to do. So from Islamic point of view, regarding anti-social media and all that, we just have to focus on 4 things. One of the things is this global gossiping and backbiting. That will, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that if you وَلَا يَغْتَمْ بَعْدُكُمْ بَعْدًا أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدَكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah said, if you do backbiting, it is so horrible as if you're eating a foul meat of the dead body of your own brother. فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ, you will hate it. It is the most hateful thing. So from Islamic point of view, the social media, which has become now partially anti-social media and the gaming addiction, we got 4 things. One is we need to seriously look into that we stop ourselves from gossiping and from backbiting. And go back to the Surah Al-Hujurat, which is 49, and the verse I've recited, that we realize it is a great sin. And the second thing is the ugly and the dark part of the gaming addiction and the cyber crime. It is a fasad. It is something which leads to corruption, but you don't feel it. You don't feel it. Because these are not physically beating people or stabbing somebody or hitting them with a bullet. It is actually all wireless, because your cognitive space of hearing and sight is engaged with that, and your brain is understanding and taking up all the information, and it is impacting your heart, as I mentioned before. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ لَيُذِيقَهُم بَعْدَ الَّذِي عَمَلُوا لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. In Surah Rum, it is a very thoughtful and interesting verse, that all this corruption, moral corruption on the sea and the land has already happened, which is caused by the hands of the men. So this is internet and the cyber world, and all this pornography and child abuse, child labor, sex slavery, and everything is caused by human beings. And when we suffer the bad effects, the deleterious effects, the harmful effects, and Allah is saying it is لَيُذِيقَهُم بَعْدَ الَّذِي عَمَلُوا. You have to suffer. Allah lets you taste the fasad, the moral, malicious corruption, disorder caused by your own hands, you can taste with each other. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. Why? So that you reflect on it, that this is evil. You reflect on it, this is wrong. You reflect on it, that you are squandering the time, the greatest gift Allah has given you. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. So that you return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Allah's plan. You return to Allah's. The third thing which is most concerning with social media and this internet is, Allah gave us in Quran the concept of planting a seed. Like one of the example is فَمَثُلَ كَلِمَةٍ حَبِيسَةٍ كَشَجَرَةٍ خَبِيسَةٍ نِجْتُثَّتْ مِنْ فَوْقِ الْأَرْضِ مَا لَهَا مِنْ قَرَارٍ. One of the examples Allah gave in Surah Ibrahim, verse 26 is that if there are evil words, Allah gives example, evil words, that means the words which you listen are like a seed. The seed is being planted. If you listen to those and act on it, it is like a seed from which what will happen is shajaratan khabisa, an evil tree will grow up. But this tree, nijtussat min fawqil ard, it will be uprooted from the roots, from the earth. Ma laha min qarar, and it would be unstable. So this internet, the biggest concern is it is planting the seed in the minds and hearts of the people, not just the teenagers and children, everybody else. So we need to be careful. Why do we say to our children again and again, don't spend too much of time? Because actually you don't realize it is planting a seed of either addiction of the games, or you are following those pop-ups, and pop-ups can take you to different websites which are adult or haram websites, and eventually you will dip your toe until you realize you are neck deep in it. So in Allah la yazlim an-nasa shay'an walakin an-nasa anfusahum yuzlimun. And Allah says, oh human beings, don't blame Allah. It is not Allah who is doing a zulm or harm to you. O mankind, wake up. O human beings, wake up. O Muslims, wake up. O my sons and daughters, wake up. O the fathers of and the mothers of the family of the children, wake up. Oh, everybody wake up. Please don't do a zulm on yourself. What is the greatest zulm? The last Islamic perspective with the social media and why it is so destructive. It is the squandering of the time. My young children, my sons and daughters, your life is made of hours and minutes. It is not made of dinars and dirham and dollars. Your life and my life and everybody's life is made of hours and minutes. If you have a wealth, you lose it, you can regain it. If you have a health problem, you can recuperate. If you lose time, it will never come back. It cannot be regained. So I give one example from Quran that how bad this is. You're squandering the greatest gift Allah has given you. The greatest gift Allah has given you is life. And if children and people waste their time on social media, recent research in a year before is that people actually engage with the phone 211 times per 24 hours. And some people, they touch their phone 2,400 times in a 24-hour period. It's just a research, they did it. So Allah has given us an inquisitive mind. Sometimes we can call it obsessive mind. This is what the nature of the issue is. Let me give you one example. There's one verse in Quran. It's in Surah Isra. إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ لِرَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. It means إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ. Mubazzirin are those people from the word tabzir. Tabzir is you are extravagant. you overspend بغير حق, without any justification. If you got a mal or a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so if somebody spend that, and Allah is saying it is as if you are from a family of a shaitan, of Iblis. وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ رَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. So shaitan or Iblis is the most ungrateful. So if we waste a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though in this verse the example given is of a mal, because the previous verse mentioned about the wealth spending on the yatama and masakin, the orphans and the poor people, but we can use the same example that wealth is wasting, is a sin. If you spend for your necessities, the daruriyat and other necessary things, hajiyat, and even sometimes sort of embellishment, tahsinat, that's okay. If you spend your time for righteous things, for good things, for beneficial things, mutually for benefit things, it's fine. So the time is much, much, much bigger blessing than the wealth. So if you and me or anybody else waste our time, so we are certainly in a company of a devil, shaitan. And we are mostly ungrateful, very ungrateful. This is the biggest blessing. When Allah mentions, you see in another verse, in ta'uddu ni'matallahi ala tuhsuha, that you will never be able to count the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This verse actually end at, you see that the kafur and that insan is most ungrateful. So this is the greatest wealth, the time you have got, resources. Amongst the resources, you can use this opportunity to enter paradise. So indeed, the time spent on anti-social media and video games is nothing but squandering of time without realizing the consequences. So I'm not saying that you don't go on WhatsApp. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you don't play at all. But I think 12.6% addiction in the teens is quite a lot. It's quite a lot. So the first thing is we need to be aware of this problem. Unless and until you are aware, you're not consciously thinking. Anybody who is not aware of a problem, they are actually not thinking. So temporarily, their conscious thinking is paralyzed. The first thing is awareness. Is there a reason my mother and father, my teacher or other people are screaming and shouting and saying, please, for God's sake, don't waste your time? Children, this is the time for study, for work, for sacrifice. If you work hard in your young age, when you are older in your 40s and 50s, you have an easy life. If you waste it now, I'm sorry to say it will be a disaster. Financial and social disaster. People who got an internet addiction, I hope you are not one of them, but if you know anybody in your family or in your distant family, if they got internet addiction, then this is what we need to do. There are three main points to tell them, simple points, tried and tested by the internet psychologists. In America, the first internet addiction clinic was open at least 8 or 10 years ago. In Britain, we have now clinics open for internet addiction, internet gambling addiction. Other addictions also, the horrible one, when we were going around, we just looked at those addictions. The first thing is people who have a difficulty to stay away from a phone, they say check your checking. And minimize the checking, because you need to realize you're checking. If you just look at yourself for 30 minutes and say how many times you opened your phone and checked your email, WhatsApp, SMS or other Twitter message, if in a half an hour you check 10 times, you're done, you're gone. In an hour it is 60. And if you're up for 12 hours, multiply 720 times. It's a massive, colossal loss of time. Set limits for yourself. Control your online behavior. Literally, I think, including myself, we have to say this is the limit. And third thing is to disconnect at times when you're with your mother. Please, for God's sake, for Allah's sake, when you're the father, when parents are with the children, switch off temporarily, disconnect temporarily. When you are on the dinner table, having meals, give some respect to the blessings Allah has given you. It is a kind of ungratefulness. And if you are in a mosque or reflecting or sleeping, switch off. The last thing is, in Britain we have now internet addiction clinics open now. You have cyber specialist psychologists and cyber specialist psychiatrists. If anybody needs that help, let me know. I will make a referral myself. Mary Aiken says other things also. They are just sort of general things, but they are very important. There's a better education and educational institutes. They say that every institute, the college, even the Islamic schools, they should do regular workshops to raise the awareness of the dangers of the social media addiction and gaming addiction and going on the dark net and other these sort of horrible things. She says, even though she's an Irish lady, but she probably has lived in America, lives in America, she says that cyber ethics need to be defined. We need to, United Nations and many other people in the government need to sit down and say this is not on. There's a lawlessness on internet. Our children are being affected. They're affected in a bad way because they're losing their faith. What is the most important thing for us? Faith. Our moral character. She writes something beautiful. She writes, greater societies are judged not by how they serve the strongest, but by how they protect the weakest and most vulnerable. So our children are vulnerable. Our young sons and daughters are vulnerable. So we need to collectively focus on creating the best possible cyber society. We also need to redefine the ethics of using mobile phones in public. All of us, including myself, using too much. Greater governance, that means the governments have to get their act together. Just like they put labels on cigarettes now, they should put labels on all those things which are dangerous. If you got a paracetamol, you buy paracetamol, it's got a 72 side effects. But there's nothing on alcohol, which can affect every cell of your body from head to bottom, head to toe, every cell. It can cause brain damage and dementia. It can cause liver failure and cirrhosis. It's got a heart problem, hypertension, gastric ulcers, bleeding, piles, and so forth. But there's no label on it, no label on these games. So parents and people should actually say there should be labels on these games. So when you buy the games, at least there is not enough it is for 18 or 18 plus or 12. Personal responsibility, we all have to protect ourselves and our children. And know that, it's a horrible thing to say, but know that one thing. The old people used to say, the peeping toms, who used to look in the private rooms of the women and people, having intimate relationship. Now they say the peeping tom has been replaced by the big daddy. The big daddy of all the peeping toms. And what is the name of that? Camera. So the cameras in the home, in your computers, in your phones, and you need to be careful how do you use them. So sometimes asking questions is a good thing, because if I look at the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ's ahadith, and we find there were so many questions asked. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not always teach people just by telling them to do this, but many times there's hundreds of rhetorical questions. So last couple of points, so we should ask questions. Those people who we suspect have been addicted to the games and using too much of social media. What do you achieve by clinging on to social media for hours and hours and hours in a day? There's no harm in asking a question. Maybe one day you'll think, what do you achieve? If you are an intelligent person, you must achieve something beneficial. We can ask them, what have you accomplished so far through video games addiction? What is your benefit? Is the financial benefit? Is your IQ level better? Is your social skills better? Is your mannerism better with your mother and father and your teachers and neighbors? You have to ask questions. So don't you know that everyone has in 24 hours the same amount of time? So it depends on the utilization of the time whether you are successful or unsuccessful in life. And then we of course ask them, tell them that life is made of, hours and not dirhams and dinars and dollars. I said that before. So we ask them the final question, oh my son and daughter, where will be social media and video game addicts after 5 years? Where do you want to see yourself? Now you're playing 10 hours a week. You can want to increase to 20 or reduce to 1 hour a month. Your choice. Allah's advice is very clear. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan wa man yattabi' khutuwati shaitani fa innahu ya'muru bil fahsha wal munkar. These are all footsteps of devil, because you're wasting the greatest resource you've got. It's your life. So if we are ungrateful, then we are wasting time, we're following the footsteps of shaitan. And if you follow the footsteps, he will do two things to you. I mentioned in the last talk also. He will strip you of your shame. يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَةِ. He will strip you of. Literally, imagine if somebody wearing a clothes and you strip them off, he will strip you off of your shame. And once the shame goes, the faith goes. And then secondly, munkar, he will strip you of your gratitude. He will say whatever you got, your food, your mother, your father, your car, your facilities, it is granted for. No, somebody has worked hard for that. So take it for granted. So this is a kind of a perception problem in young children. So we have to fix them by a personal education. And on how do we deal with another point with social media, that a lot of times we pass information on without verification. So I just want to remind myself and everybody else that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Hujurat, verse number 6, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaban fatabayyanu an tusibu qawman bijahalatin fatusbihu ala ma fa'altum nadimin. So this is the powerful message that if you have any information from anybody, whether an individual, rebellious, doubtful person comes to you, whether you have received an email or a WhatsApp message or a Twitter message or a LinkedIn message or a Snapchat, if there's no reference with it of a Quran or a Hadith or of any scholar, please don't forward. Because Allah says, you might, in your ignorance, you believe in that, and then you have a nidama. You will become ashamed of yourself. And it's not being ashamed of yourself in this world, but in the hereafter it will be a sin. Because based on this information, which is not even confirmed, and people are pushing buttons day and night. I have to delete at least 100 messages a day because they are not referenced properly. And attributed to hadith, attributed to this, that, another. Unless until you have a reference, how can you, we should make this principle and usul in our life. So gratitude is the most important thing. So understand the gratitude and the shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in shakartum amantum, Allah said in one of the verses in Surah Nisa, that only if you do two things. Why Allah will give you punishment? You only do two things. When shakartum amantum. You really are grateful for the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you truly believe in Allah Shakiran Alima. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Himself grateful to you. So personal reading, do read the book by Mary Aiken, The Cyber Effect, and buy that book, and also buy a few other books, copies, if you want to gift other people, and stop giving those sort of gifts. Oh, don't stop, okay? I don't want to be thumped. We should actually start giving each other the books in the form of the gift to families. We should have our own intellectual renaissance. This is the time and come, because all these are intellectual assaults on you. Nobody is physically assaulting the cyberspace. So we have to look at that, change our thinking. Like in the first talk, Surah Alaq, you see we mentioned about the conscious thinking, that if you really believe you are a thinking human being, and that's why the Quran came, and Quran asks again and again, أَفَلَا يَأْكِلُونَ? Would you not use your akal, your intellect? أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ? Would you not use your contemplation and reflection? Would you not use أَفَلَا يَسْمَعُونَ, your quwwatu sama, your hearing? أَفَلَا يُبْصِرُونَ? Would you not use your sight properly? Allah asks you questions. And on the day of judgment, you will be asked about your sight, about your hearing, about your heart, about your akal. We gave you. Why have you not used it? We gave you the power and faculty of reflection. أَفَلَا يَشْكُرُونَ? Would you not be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you can walk, if you can talk, if you can see, if you can stand up, if you can eat, if you can enjoy, if you got a roof over your head, if you can have clothes? There's so many things to be grateful, and this wasting of time makes you the most ungrateful human being, whether it's me or my family or your family or any other person's family, because you're wasting the greatest resource. It's not good enough to say, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. Yes, we can be bored, but we have to look into the root causes of that, why you are bored. If you're a young person, teenager, what is your job? You're a student. You are talib al-ilm. You need to do talab al-ilm. Your name is talib. You are a seeker of the knowledge. Your name is talib. Talib means that you're seeking something. Talib al-ilm. That's your job. If you want to improve something, you do FMK. My favorite sort of 3 words, you see. We need to improve our faith and moral character and knowledge. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our faith, moral character, and our knowledge. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give guidance to our children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our children happy, compliant, grateful. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us as a parents also be very patient, very grateful, very cognizant, and very sort of consciously thinking human beings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us a soft-hearted people and enable us to help each other, understand each other. And if somebody is suffering because of internet, any anxiety, any depression, any boredom, any hopelessness, any nihilism, anything like that, rather than sort of telling them off, engage with them. Engage with them. Find out, how can I help you, my son, my daughter? So that is the most important thing. So we finish off وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. This is the first session. We finish here, and then the second session, if anybody's got any questions, you are most welcome to ask a question or engage in a short discussion, not too long. And Jazakallah khairan for your presence, for your listening, for your coming. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all the angels are here and they envelop you with their mercy, and may Allah forgive your sins. May Allah increase your knowledge. You should go home and walk out the home and keep saying, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. Ya Allah, increase my knowledge. And knowledge is very powerful. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Any questions?